I'm so excited to welcome Tyler Hubbard to Pure Country, celebrating new album out. And how does it feel having a record out as a solo artist? Is it a different feeling, more nerve-wracking?
It feels really good. This is, an album and a project that I've been pouring my heart and soul into for a little while now. And it feels special, having the opportunity to connect with the fans on a deeper, more personal level and to get to be an individual through my music is something I've never experienced before. So yeah, there's definitely this element of newness and excitement and just good energy around it all. And to get to I'm just excited to get to connect with the fans and tell them more of who I am.
Yeah, it's funny. Until I heard you say that when you like announced your album coming out, I never really thought about how true that is that when you're, even for me, interviewing a band or a duo, it's hard to really get to know each person really, really well on a deeper level because there's so many of you and so many different stories. So I feel like I've learned so much about you just in the short time that you have become a solo artist. So it's really cool to hear songs that you maybe wouldn't have put out, prior to doing this because it didn't fit for both of you.
Totally. Yeah, and there's several songs on this album that are very clearly songs that I wouldn't have done within the dynamic of a band or a duo, right? And so it's really fun to get to go there and to get to be more vulnerable and real.
For sure. Congratulations, 5'9", obviously your first official like solo artist number one. I know you had Undivided with Tim McGraw, but this one was just you. What was the feeling like? Because you've had success with songs before, but I feel like when you made the decision to finally do this project on your own, seeing that fans and the industry are actually resonating with it and supporting it has got to be really extra special.
Yeah, it is. It feels really validating and you know, exciting and encouraging. And you just never know until it's out there. And just to see the fans' reception's been amazing and all the support. So it's encouraged me and really, just giving me this momentum that I'm carrying into the new year. And excited for the next single, "Dancing in the Country," and just to feel like I've got this album and things that are falling into place. It just feels like great momentum. Starting off with 5'9" and that going number one and just feeling all the love. So it's a good place to be.
Even though Haley's actually what 5'10".
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
I missed it by an inch.
I know. I'm like, well, you didn't really miss because it went number one, so it's still something to celebrate. But what is Haley's take on this record? Because I know obviously she's a massive one inspiration, but part of all of this. When she heard the full record for the first time, what was her take on it?
Well,
She's probably heard it in pieces.
yeah, she loves it, and she was definitely a part of the process in general. So um, but overall, when I could finally say, "Hey, check out this finished mix and mastered. What do you think?" I mean, she was really proud of it and excited for me, and she loves all the songs, and she gets the blessing and the curse of having to hear just about every song I write. So it was cool to have her sort of like stamp of approval, and she's very honest with me about the songs, and so I know she's not just blowing smoke when she says she likes something. So it's nice to have that feedback from somebody that you trust and will shoot you straight.
Kids, obviously, I remember seeing videos. I think Baby Gets Her Lovin' was a hit there in the household for a minute. I think last time we talked. Do they have a favorite that they repeat? Because I think kids are that way when they find one they like, it's like only that.
Yeah, right now is "Dancing in the Country" and "Way Home." Luca
Okay.
loves to perform "Way Home." That's like his favorite, and they love "Dancing in the Country." But it also, they kind of sometimes they'll surprise me and want to hear one song that they hadn't heard in a while or whatever. But it's fun. They're big fans. They're young enough to still think Dad's cool and my music's cool. So I'm
Savor in
soaking it
the
up. Yeah,
moments. Yeah,
I'm
savor
soaking
the
it up while I
moments.
can.
What was it about Dancing in the Country? Because I'm sure the Keith tour probably played a part in this, where you got to actually go out and see fans responding to certain songs. But what made you go, okay, Dancing in the Country is the next one we're going to go with?
I just felt like it was a good follow up to 5'9", and I felt like it's sort of fresh sonically for the format. There's nothing really like it currently on the radio, and I thought it may push some boundaries, which I enjoy, and I really I don't know, it just felt timely and fun and kind of lighthearted and showcased my personality, and I still feel like country radio is getting to know me as an individual, and this song really you know, it helps showcase that side of who I am and fun loving and lighthearted and just try not to take myself too serious all the time. So it felt appropriate.
You have obviously been a part of a lot of collabs in previous years. Have you thought about maybe releasing any songs or re-releasing any with any collaborators on it? Or
I
you
would say
were full?
definitely. No,
Yeah.
I really missed that. And I was very intentional about needing to put out a project that was just me, and reestablishing myself as an individual before I let a before I did collaborations or, um so that was tough for me because I love collaborating and I love making music with friends, and I had a few friends hit me up about some really good songs that they wanted me to do with them, and I just had to kind of be like, I'm taking some time off from collaborating and really focusing on re-establishing who I am and
Yeah.
putting out my solo album. And so now that that's kind of behind me, I can definitely see myself doing some featuring when the time and the song is right, and maybe one day even doing like a project of just like Tyler and friends. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I mean, I know just looking at the posts you made announcing the record, seeing the support of like your fellow artists and friends and stuff, it's cool to see how many people are just so happy that you decided to do this.
It is. I feel the love and support, and it's awesome. It takes that, and I think here in Nashville, especially, we have a unique and cool community of support. All
Yeah.
all the artists were sort of like one big family, and so yeah, to feel that love and acceptance and support was big, especially when I was making the decision to do it. But it took a lot of friends kind of you know encouraging me to do it before I even wanted to kind of take that leap. But it was nice to have that.
Yeah, because I remember I think the last time we talked, you said you were like totally fine with just being dad and writing songs for a while and doing that until, whatever happened. And I think just judging by what's going on, it seems like you're enjoying adding this back into the mix.
Yeah, for sure. I thought that, and it was sort of short lived. I was like,
Yeah.
man, pretty quickly there was a piece missing. That I really love, and being an artist is really a gift and a special thing that I really missed. And so the touring and the making albums and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
glad to have
What
it back.
what was it like being out on the road? I think when I talked to you, you were just about to head out with Keith on tour. What was that experience like? By the end of it, I feel like you were probably just getting in your groove and like, let's keep going.
Yeah, it was. It was sort of bittersweet to end. It was like 25 shows, so we were in a groove for sure and feeling good. And nobody else I'd rather go, reestablish with and figure this thing out on my own than Keith Urban. And to get to open for him was a huge honor and a huge opportunity. And we had a ton of fun. He's great on so many levels, and
Yeah.
I respect him a ton. And so, incredible tour. And yeah, sad that one was over, but thankful for the shows we got to do together.
Yeah, for sure. Um, Undivided, just want to talk about that for a second because even though that's not on the record, that was kind of the first time we got to see like a little taste of you on your own, obviously with Tim McGraw, a part of it. But what was it about that song and just working with Tim McGraw that made you go? Because I know you had done some stuff with Lathan Warlick and stuff, but why Tim as far as your first outing as a solo artist?
Well, that kind of just happened organically, right? And
Okay.
and Tim had asked me to stay on it, and I was just like, "Well, of course I will." And at the time, yeah, that was sort of when I was in the headspace. I'm just gonna write songs, and then if it works out and it's appropriate, then I'll just like feature on my friends' songs,
Yeah. Yeah.
if they want me to. And that sounded like fun to me at the time, and it was. And like I said, I just love collaborating so much that it just felt like, yeah, I'll just be almost like a featured artist. And then and so there wasn't a whole lot of thought into that other than I just believed in the song. I loved the message and I loved Tim, and I thought, yeah, I'd love to do that with him. So that was a cool song and a cool opportunity for sure, and something I'm proud of.
So this album, there's a lot of fun songs and there's a lot of personal songs that I feel like are ones we talked about you would never have released had you been still in a duo or a band or whatever. Um, the one that is another fun one I want to talk about is Everybody Needs a Bar. You've done a really cool video for it and everything. I want to ask, do you have an all-time favorite bar that you go to?
Ooh.
You've probably been to a few. You
Right
have them
now,
all.
yeah, I always think of Tin Roof on Demonbreun because that's the bar we used to just wear out back in the day when the across the street was a parking lot, you know. And yeah, when I was in college, that was one of our go-tos. We wore it out.
That was the first bar I ever went to when I came to Nashville, and I love it. It's still, it's not the same as it was like the first time I came, but it's still pretty cool.
Yeah, it takes me back. I need to go visit. It's been a while
That would be pretty cool. You should document that.
for
Um,
sure.
one of the songs though that I listened to the record from start to finish because I feel like that's such an important thing to do when an artist releases a record is you really kind of like go through the journey of everything in order. So near the end of the album, obviously, Miss My Daddy is something that I'll be honest, I didn't know you had gone through because I feel like it hasn't been something you've talked about a ton in interviews and whatnot. And I was talking to my husband about it, and he's like, "You didn't know that?" I was like, "No, I didn't." So I apologize that I did not know you had lost your dad. But I feel like a lot of fans are getting to see a side of you that they maybe haven't ever before, and that song is a huge part of it. And I feel like maybe is a difficult one to get through when you start playing it live.
Yeah, I haven't played it in front of fans yet. I've played it live for a performance for like Devo or something, and obviously I spent some time in the studio with it. But I was surprised, you know, it felt like a lot of my emotion was poured out when I wrote it, you know, and was a lot easier than I expected to in the studio and even performing it. But it's still heavy, you know, and it's still one of those things that I just wanted to kind of tap into the vulnerable side of who I am and even the hard parts of my story, you know, and I know a lot of us have gone through loss, you know, and so to tap into that, or almost to not tap into that would have been, you know, disjustice for, you know, selling myself short or my story short. And so, I didn't expect that song to ever be recorded or on a project because at the time, I didn't think I'd ever, you know, do anything besides being a band. But since I had the opportunity to do that, I did. Like you said, I felt like that song was important and one that really tapped into a different emotion and hopefully could be therapeutic and healing for other fans the way that it was for me.
For sure, because I think that's part of it. In music, you want everything to be polished and perfect and what's going to go on the radio. And, Dancing in the Country is such a huge song, but you probably will be surprised by how many fans that song on the album ends up being one of the biggest ones because it is just speaking to people in a way where you're being vulnerable and honest that some people shy away from, but it's so important and people need to hear
Hmm.
that they're like, oh, he went through something like that too. Like,
Yeah,
life is not always perfect and people are going
right.
through struggles and stuff.
No doubt. And I hope that I can connect with a lot of fans through that, the struggles of life. And it's just part of life, but at the same time, it's how we handle it and how we navigate moving forward and all that. So yeah, I'm glad to be able to go there, like I said, and get more real. And it's even cool to hear that you didn't even know that because it tells me that there's a lot of room for growth. And I think that's cool. So
Yeah. And I mean,
thanks for telling me that.
I was like, I felt horrible and I was like, I can't tell him that. But I'm like, I think part of it is that is the issue with there being more than one person in your interviews that you don't get to like do the oh my gosh, deep dive into things.
Right.
And when I said that to Steven, I was like, I feel so horrible that I didn't know that about you. But I think it's cool that fans are going to get to know you just listening to the record, let alone going to see you on tour playing the songs, but in such a different way. Even Me for Me and songs like Tough, I feel like are just a side of you I haven't seen a ton of, like hints of it in, your FGL days, but I feel like are just really super cool, honest songs that I think Tough is probably one of my favorites on the record.
Cool. Yeah, it's also a really vulnerable song, and it's kind of got a wrapping paper on it sonically that still makes it fun and up tempo and makes you want to dance. But it's lyrically it's real and it's vulnerable, and it was written from a very just honest place. And so yeah, it's cool to get to tap into that and get to add some layers to who I am, within my music as well.
Do you have a song? Every time I ask someone this, it's like impossible because I feel like they're like your kids and you can't pick a favorite. And as a parent, you know that. But do you have a song that maybe you're most excited for fans to finally hear and see their feedback on?
Good question. I think tough. Or I mean the ones we've talked about, honestly, just even being in this conversation has made me more excited for people to hear the Miss My Daddy. Even though it's not a fun song, it's not a song that, we're jacked to listen to 10 times, but it's like it's gonna be a moment and it's gonna be I hope people let themselves go there and really, maybe go for a drive or whatever and listen to that song. And so I think that's probably not the answer I would have thought I would have said, but that's one of those songs for sure that I'm really excited about.
It's an important one. I think that it
Yeah.
like made this a very all-encompassing Tyler Hubbard record. Like we got all the bits and pieces of who you are, is like the fun side, the goofy side, the vulnerable, honest love story side, of course, with certain songs on there. What are you hoping to accomplish in 2023? Because I feel like 2022 was such a big transition year for you. Is there a goal you have set for yourself this year?
Yeah, it's first career goal is just to get in front of as many fans as I can. Just play these songs in front of as many people as possible. Um, and that's simply put, but that's the goal. And then continue to write and get ready to make a second record, I want to follow it up strong, and I'm excited to get back into that headspace of, you know, are there more sides to me and is there other sounds I hadn't tapped into yet? I do believe there are, and I'm excited to see what those are.
Are you a guy that as soon as you finish the record, you're already working on the next one, or do you take a minute to actually enjoy
Um,
it?
a little bit of both. I'll take a minute over the holidays, but I'm always writing, as a songwriter. So as soon as this album kind of had a lock on it, I was like, all right, well,
What's next?
I want to start stacking songs for the next album, and so that's kind of where I'm at. Yep.
Awesome. All right. Well, congrats on the new record. It's incredible. I've listened to it like 10 times already.
Oh, thank
And
you.
I feel like I find a new favorite every time I listen through. So I think fans are super pumped that you have decided to do this. And 2023 is going to be an exciting year to get to see you play it all in front of people.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you chatting with me and listening to the music, and it really means a lot. So, anyways, happy holidays, and we'll see you soon.
For sure. All right. Tyler Hubbard on Pure Country.